In the book of Matthew, chapter 23, Jesus handles the management of the synagogues, of the management of the church, the management of temples, which he calls the house of his father. And at this point in chapter 23 of Matthew, he's addressing now both across the board, and that is everybody in the community of Israel and the disciples. He is talking to the Pharisees, and he's saying that these are the people who sit on the seats of Moses. Now, we need to understand what is the seat of Moses. Moses was given the leadership responsibilities. Moses was acting as a Messiah to help the people, to deliver the people out of bondage. Moses was acting as a priest for the reason that when God said that I want to make them to become priests, they rejected, and therefore Moses was a priest in the house of Israel until the time is elected now Levites and Aaron to perform the Levitical duties. And so he says that these are the people who are doing the sitting in the seats of Moses. And at this point, we notice that Moses was also a judge, he was a teacher, he was a lawgiver, he was a vision bearer, and he was a king in that perspective. So when Jesus says that the teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit in the seats of Moses, that is exactly the responsibility that he was taking off. Now, when we look at this current generation that we have, our churches today, we are taking on the form of Moses. And at this point now, Jesus is rebuking them, all inclusive of the disciples, and giving them a warning: you shall never take that position that the Pharisees are taking. As we look at it very critically, now Jesus is giving us exactly what we don't need to do. He's saying they teach very well, but they are not doing what they are teaching. So he's warning them and telling them that whatever happens in all situations, do what they are telling you to do, but don't follow what they are doing, because they are doing contrary, opposite to what they are doing in the society. They are putting loads upon the people. What they are doing is actually, when they tell you to, for example, to pay the tithe, they don't pay the tithe themselves. And if you look at most of our pastors, many of our pastors, and I'm not saying all, but many of them, the bulk of them that I've interacted with, most of them are saying they don't even pay tithe. And I was surprised to hear one of them tell me that he does not believe in tithe. But when it comes to preaching the word of tithe, they preach vehemently and strongly. And this is what Jesus is warning us: don't do what they do, but do what they say, only, or again, if they are teaching you correct doctrine according to the scriptures. Now, the other thing that they do is they love or they desire recognition. They put on colored jewelry, they put on very expensive clothing, not only because it is for their own good or their beauty, but for the show off, to show the public who they are, to show the people the lifestyle. Their garments have got a high level of identity, to be identified as men of God, full of linen, flowing with multicolored aspects. That is the kind of thing that Jesus said, don't be like them.